All right, we're preparing to live stream the meeting. Give it a few seconds. I'll give you the cue here. All right, and we are all set. I'll resume recording.
Thank you. This regular meeting of the Oak Park City Council, November 16th, 2020 at 7:02 is now called to order. Clerk Norris, who did a phenomenal job on the election, would you call the roll?
Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Radner. Where'd he go? Councilmember Weiss.
Here.
And Councilmember Edgar.
Here.
Here.
Gotcha.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Did you say my name yet?
Yes,
Yep. The game's
All
on.
right.
we got you.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Burns, is there a second?
Second.
Good. Councilmember Weiss. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Following items are presented for council approval without discussion. Item A, Board of Appeals meetings of July 28th, 2020 and September 22nd. B, Planning Commission meeting minutes of July 13th, 20 and October 12th. C, request to approve payment application number 2 for the 2020 decorative fence project M695 to American Fence Company of Warren, Michigan in the amount of $84,375.43. If you haven't checked out the fence on 9 Mile, please drive by. D, licenses new and renewals submitted for November 16th, 2020.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can we remove item C?
Item B, planning.
C.
Commission
C as in cat.
We will remove item B and discuss that separately.
Item
C.
C. C, the fence project.
C like koi.
C, thank you. C, okay, got it. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're approving A, B, and D. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Minus item C as in cat.
So moved.
Thank you. That's Weiss.
Second.
Second. That Radner? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say aye. Motion carried. Item C, request to approve payment application number 2 for the 2020 decorative fence project M695 to American Fence Company of Warren, Michigan in the amount of $8,375.43. So we need a motion to approve that separately.
So moved.
That's Weiss, thank you. In a second.
Second.
Thank you. Burns. Councilmember Weiss, what, you had some discussion on this one.
Yeah, I just wondered if we could get a quick update about the status of that project, how much of it's been completed, when we're anticipating that project being completed by.
Absolutely.
Well-
Probably Assistant City Manager Yee.
Yes, okay. So as you can see, as you drive down 9 Mile Road, they've already begun and put up roughly a quarter of that fence in that area. The fence around City Hall, the city complex is about in. The gates are on, but they're not operational yet. The privacy fence behind City Hall, that's completed. The pillars in front of the court building are up. So by payment based on the footage that is completed, they were about 40% complete. And we expect them to be done in probably another month or so. So they're going to be cutting it into December, but probably by the end of the year, we expect them to be done.
So they can put up fence when it's cold, right?
I'm sorry?
They can put up the fence when it's cold.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not any additional cost. This is just the payment, actual payment that was initially discussed, correct?
This is just a progress payment, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
But this is not going to go over budget, correct?
We don't anticipate it going over budget, no.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. City Clerk, are there visiting elected officials or elections? Director Vecchio?
I do not see anyone at the moment.
Thank you. We don't have any presentations this time or public hearings. That puts us down to item 10 on the agenda, which is accounting reports. Approval for payment of invoices submitted by Garen Lukau Miller PC for legal services in the total amount of $14,769.99.
So moved.
Second.
Radner and Burns, thank you. Discussion? Roll call, please. City Clerk, is there a roll call for?
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
and Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Before, Councilmember Radner, paying your lawyer was never this much fun. 11, bids and no ordinances this time. We have kept the city attorneys extremely busy, but they've already reported. City Manager Eric Tungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had an opportunity in the special meeting to discuss this a little bit, but I wanted to ask council's permission to adopt my recommendation that we close city facilities with the exception of public safety to the public until January 4th. The city will go into a full remote work plan and several departments. Obviously, as part of that, public safety will continue to operate as normal. We will be promoting online bill payment, the drop boxes. We have 2 of them now. And I believe at this time, even though there may still be some kinks to work out, staff is fully prepared to go into a remote work status for the next month and a half or so. And this is all meant to ensure as much as we possibly can through mitigation efforts, the safety of our patrons and our residents, as well as our employees. I've also instituted some other requirements within the staff, even the staff in public safety. Masks must be worn in all areas of the common areas of the facility, whether they're in public safety or anywhere else. And I also wanted council to weigh in on the possibility of keeping our city gym open to just a few people at a time. I wanted to take your temperature on that and see if that would be something you would be interested in doing as well.
When you mean open up for a few people at a time, in what capacity?
So the city exercise facility, I would limit to, just 2-3 people at any given time. Obviously, they'd have to be spaced out. They'd have to be wearing masks.
But the exercise facility?
Mm-hmm. And
I would think not, since we're going to be closing down other city departments. I don't think it would be prudent to leave the city gym open. I think that should be closed as well. That's just my opinion.
This is staff gym.
Right. So it's not a public gym, obviously. It's the staff gym. Now, keep in mind, in the governor's order yesterday, I think, she did allow gyms to remain open, private and public gyms, with certain restrictions. So obviously we'd maintain those restrictions and limit it to a couple, 2-3 people at a time. But, you also have to keep into consideration that public safety will be working as normal, and, their physical and mental health is important just the same.
So if I could comment on that, I know part of the order is when facilities are remaining open, they have distancing requirements inside of them. That facility is not supervised, so there's no way to enforce that. The only thing I would suggest is that perhaps we just say one person at a time, because if there's one person at a time, then at least we don't have to worry about spacing. Although then again, I don't know how you enforce that either.
Right. That's an excellent observation. That was why I was saying limiting to 2 or 3 people at a time, because you can't. I mean, and then if I did have an employee in human resources or somewhere else going over there and enforcing it, then I'm exposing them to the risk. And what's the point then? So I think by limiting it to a few people, you've done the best you can. But again, I'll just say that, remember, public safety, they don't skip a beat. So this is one of their outlets, which I'm highly, aware of. It's so for their mental and physical health during this, because they don't get the luxury of working, on a couch somewhere.
Director Cooper, can you give us an opinion on this?
Sure. I would highly recommend that we keep that facility open. As far as, not having somebody over there to supervise to make sure they're maintaining, 6 feet of distance. I mean, we're out here policing, carrying guns, and have the ability to take life at any particular point in time. I believe it should be an honor system. And the city manager is 100% correct with saying that our mental and physical health is dependent upon partially, like I said, being able to stay physically fit. Our job requires it. It's very strenuous. At any particular time, we're caught into various physical activities that mandate it. And I would be 100% in favor of keeping that facility open.
Okay, thank you guys for clearing that up. I thought when you said open, I thought you meant open to the public, but just open to public safety. I totally understand that and in total agreement.
Well, it'd be, Mayor Pro Tem, actually, just to clarify, it would be open to city staff, obviously public safety too. But what I would recommend is that all the mitigation efforts, the governor threw out there yesterday, we enact, if we haven't already, and we limit it to no more than 3 people at any given time. And as Director Cooper said, we're operating on, the honor system for the most part.
Okay.
Then as far as the other recommendation, I'm asking council permission to close to the public the City Hall, Community Center, and the library beginning on Wednesday.
Before we go on, I think Assistant City Manager Yee had a question. No?
Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
If you don't mind, yeah, we did talk about this in some detail today. And a couple of things I wanted to add from our discussion was that, first of all, Megan, Dave DeCoster, and I are going to have a meeting about this tomorrow. Go over the exact safety precautions and procedures we have there, and make sure that the proper cleaning is done there and equipment there is properly sanitized and available. But we also thought, I think it's important to note that a lot of our officers and public service workers and folks, they are going to, if we don't offer them a place, they're going to go out and seek a gym to go to. And we just felt it was safer if they were in a city only environment that's a private facility than going to a public one, which are open. So when we discussed it, that was one of the things that we had noted also that we thought was important. So I just wanted to add that because we did have quite a bit of discussion on that today.
Can we, I don't know if there's what the type of signage we have in there right now, but can we add additional signage to the door that indicates only 3 people at a time and
Absolutely.
all that good stuff, wear masks, 6 feet?
Absolutely. We do have some of that signage in there now, but we'll have to beef it up a little bit.
I want one that says, Mayor loves you, council loves you, stay safe. Do you need a motion or just general agreement?
I would prefer a motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so a motion to close city offices, community center, library until January 4th, allow staff to work remotely while public safety operates as normal. Is anything have to be in the motion beside that?
No.
Even open the gym.
Well,
And leaving the gym open with limited number of people. So we have the motion. Is there somebody to make the motion?
So moved.
Who was that?
Second,
Oh,
Julie,
Julie,
Edgar, and Burns.
thank you. All those.
Oh, Madam Mayor, sorry, quick discussion.
Yep.
I just think it's important to note that we talked about this before the meeting, but I don't think we've talked about it yet, that the library, part of that would be offering curbside pickup for patrons. So the library will be closed to coming into the building, but that does not mean that people still won't be able to check out books or return books.
Right.
Madam Mayor, if I could, absolutely. And that, for recreation, another example would just be, obviously the staff will be working until such time that may change, but they'll be doing remote programming and so forth, and the library too. I mean, that's assumed.
But will there be a few bodies in the library anyway? I mean, they're going to have to be fulfilling requests and so forth. So I've never seen that done, the curbside pickup.
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to have to refine it. We have a library board meeting tomorrow night. And once they know council's directive, obviously that gives them an opportunity to then go refine their curbside delivery and other programming. But it's on them to get that done. Also, keep in mind that just because the facilities aren't open to the public doesn't always mean that staff aren't going to be physically present. I know for me, I intend on being in City Hall myself. And other staff will, finance, they have to come in and process checks and so forth. So we're just not letting patrons come in for their own safety and our employees' safety.
I have a question.
Yes.
Was this motion for the 3 weeks that the governor has the executive order in place, or is it indefinite?
Again?
Was the motion made for an indefinite period of time, or for 3 weeks, or for some other time that I just
This
didn't?
was until January 4th.
January 4th.
Starting
January
on,
4th. Okay.
unless situations change, and we can vote to change
Right.
The date if necessary.
And
Do you want a city manager? Do you want a voice vote? Do you want a roll call?
Mr. City Clerk, a voice vote, it's fine with me.
That's fine.
Okay. All those in favor of closing city offices because of the spike in COVID, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're all in the same boat, people.
Okay,
City-
thank you, council members. And as the mayor correctly stated, I will be updating you and we'll be debriefing on this consistently throughout this time. I think this is the right move. I didn't mention this a moment ago, but I neglected to, but every department has its own unique setup with how they'll deal with this. Technical and planning is a good example of that, where we will not be doing occupied unit inspections during this time. We are going to still do inspections, but they have to be through a remote device like FaceTime or something like that. We still will be doing unoccupied unit inspections, however. So it's that kind of stuff that's going to be going on that the administration will handle. Moving on then, 14B, Finance Director Sandra Crawford is here.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, City Manager Tungate, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. Item 14B before you is the first quarter investments for fiscal year 2021. And this report is the city's investments as of September 30th, 2020. And this report includes a description of each investment by type, the market and book values, and the current and yield maturity interest rates, and the number of days to maturity. As you'll note that the first quarter report shows that out of our citywide cash investments of $36,101,765, majority of that has been done in short-term investments through the Oakland County investment pool. That amount was $31,040,210. And basically, we've been utilizing the short-term investments due to COVID-19 and the Federal Reserve rates nearly being almost zero with far as investments. But through July, through September 20th, we did earn interest investment income for totaling $85,248. However, for the coming quarters, we don't really foresee or expect the interest rates to get any higher. We expect them to probably remain low, and that as long as the overall investments will continue to not be increased or significantly as high as that we've used to seeing in the past quarters. But as our long-term investments will mature, those will be coming off. And so then we'll just be trying to go to the short-term market and get the best interest rate possible for the city funds. Does anyone have any questions about anything?
Do we just accept this report and file it?
That's correct.
Yes.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
I know obviously that the market is terrible right now, but do you know what our first quarter report was in 2019 as like just a comparison?
You know, had I been at the office, I probably could have pulled the file to look back at it. I don't have 2019 with me, but I can follow up to you in an email or to council in an email with that to let you know.
Okay, thank you. I'm just curious to see what it would
For
normally
a year
be.
ago, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, you want to vote on that?
You need a vote to.
Just to receive and file would be great.
Okay. Motion to receive and file the quarterly investment report for the period ending 9/30/20.
So moved.
Thank you, Burns. And who is second? Come on, people.
Second.
Thank you. Weiss, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Back to finance, item C.
Yes. Item 14C, Madam Mayor, is the first quarter budget to actual report for the fiscal year of 2021. And this is for the quarter ending September 30th. And through the first quarter, generally you would see revenues and expenditures would equal about 25% of the annual budget. Before you tonight, the revenues total reporting for first quarter of 2021 is approximately 15 million, and that's representing about 69% of the annual budgets. And the reason that the revenues are pretty much higher than the quarter percent is because the property tax that are levied on July 1st are due without penalty by August 31st. We received about 92% of the tax bills that have been paid. And so any of the unpaid property taxes will be purchased through the Oakland County in May of 2021. So again, primarily the property tax revenue is the reason why we're at 69% of the budget as opposed to the 25%, which would be about what you would be at a to date per quarter. Also, our state revenue sharing, we receive 6 bi-monthly payments. And so the first quarter, it doesn't reflect any fiscal year 2020 payments because that payment that we get in August 31st is really for the quarter that ended June 30th. And so we charge back that portion due to that fiscal year. So we will be receiving payments in October, December, February, April, and June, and August 31 for the 2021 fiscal year. And so we still are on target to receive approximately $3,391,000 in state shared revenue. It's less than what we have been received in the years before, but again, due to COVID and some of the sales tax collections not being where we were probably a year ago, the state of Michigan has adjusted our revenue sharing for that. So they've adjusted their fiscal year estimates for the city to $33,570,000 and $123. And this will be reflected in our first quarter budget amendment as well.
And same that you're doing for the previous, you could just give us the figures from the previous year to compare.
I can follow up that with the email as well. So you want for where we are basically in 2020 versus where we were in 2019?
Right.
Okay, sure. I can do that. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, may I just chime in too? I know one thing I owe you guys. This is something that I have not had a chance to put together with Sandra and her team yet, but we do need to put together a budget to actual report on with the COVID impact, not only on cash flow, but just budget to actual too. So that's something we're going to be working on coming up. I think what you're getting at is you want to see, well, how has this really affected us so far?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get that to you. Also, the fines and forfeitures revenue from the court. We received, it's budgeted for $1.7 million, which is about 370, of which $370,189 was received so far in this first quarter. Overall, of course, the court revenues tend to be less than what was budgeted in the prior year, again, due to COVID-19 and the reduced number of drivers on the road and tickets that are written. So right now, the court has been doing a pretty good job in reducing their costs to offset some of the loss of revenue. And so the revenue that is received is used to offset a portion of their operating costs. And we will continue to monitor both the court's revenue and expenditures and amend as necessary. The federal grants that we received have been higher than what we've anticipated because we're receiving the federal CARES funds that have passed through the state of Michigan and Oakland County related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so these revenues will be used to offset both the unbudgeted expenses incurred since March 2020, along with reimbursement of some of the allowable budgeted costs, which will be used to offset some of the revenue loss. And we will again bring forward any budget amendments for both those revenues and related unbudgeted expenditures as well. The recreation program fees continue to lag behind both prior and current year reduced budget, again, due to COVID-19 pandemic and the related shutdowns. Program fees are currently about 28% of the budget, and historically, they represent closer to 40% through the fourth quarter. So you can kind of get a little comparison of where we're normally at the first quarter, which is 40%, and now we're at 28%. And some of the revenue loss has been offset by cost savings, and budget amendments will be forthcoming in the second quarter to reflect that for the most recent projects. Our expenditures for the first quarter are approximately 4.1 million, and they're representing 19% of the annual budget. And so they're, due to COVID, they're overall are on the track, like I said, which we're going to note below some of the departments that are over the 25%, because again, just looking at the quarter basis, you should be about 25% if all things were normal, so to speak. The Human Resources Department is about 42% of the first quarter, and that's due to a retirement of the department director and the related unbudgeted payouts of the accumulated sick and vacation time. And so we have also, and so in my next item, that would be 14D. You will see those adjustments for the budget amendments in that request. The elections is at 32% of their budget due to the timing of when the elections takes place, and the presidential primary, which was during the first quarter, and the general election in November, representing the majority of the budget that will be expended during the first 6 months of our fiscal year. So again, the overall net budget of the department is in line with the current annual projection. Special events from recreation department is about 39% of their budget due to the seasonally nature of the recreation programs, but the overall net budget for the department is in line with the current projections. And all other recreation programs are running significantly under budget, again, due to COVID-19 pandemic, and will be amended during the second quarter as noted on the recreation revenues from above. Our non-departmental fund is, departmental fund is currently at 28% of their budget, and this is primarily due to transfers to the other funds, and the majority of the transfers taking place as they're needed. Communications department is about 28% of their budget due to additional costs incurred from hiring a communication consultant to assist with COVID-19 and other related updates for the residents and businesses within the city. And the increased cost is included in the first quarter budget amendments. So the unaudited fiscal year end of 1920 shows a small use of fund balance of 23,741, which, if you guys can remember, at last year, we thought we were going to spend about $500,000 of general fund balance. So we did not. We only ended up using about 23,741. And again, these are unaudited. The auditors will be coming before you. I believe they come in the first, it's either the first or the second. Ed, is it meeting of January with the report? I want to say, I think it's the second report, a second meeting, because I think that's the meeting that's always following after Martin Luther King holiday, that they come and present the audited reports to you guys for how we did for the fiscal year 1920. So overall, the budget requests, the budget amendments will be in item 14D for these funds. And so we're still on target. We're still in line with the annual budget. And we still remain at our target level of 21% of annual expenditures. Is there any questions or?
Why are we lower on general fund balance expenditures than expected?
Because again, the basis is you would think that we would be at a quarter, because it's the first quarter, we would be at 1/4% of the budget, but but due to COVID, we're not. We are just slightly at 19% of the budget. So we're not under significantly, just the difference between 25% and 19%.
Like overall, I mean, if this goes on, this pandemic goes on into the next quarter, we'll continue to not spend as much, right? So we could end up the fiscal year significantly underspent.
Yes, could.
That's possible. If I could, Madam Mayor, if I could weigh in on that, that's possible, absolutely. But you also, I think Sandra mentioned something very important, which is you also have to take into account that we're losing all of this additional revenue that helps offset our costs, especially in court. I mean, you know, ticket revenue, you know, recreation revenue and so forth. All of those things are going to start adding up. And that's why I say we're going to come back to you guys probably in December at some point with a better idea of what impact COVID has had on us. Right now, it's been a moving target. We've had some surprises along the way in terms of, you know, revenue sharing, for example, where we didn't expect as much as we got, but it hasn't all shaken out yet. But needless to say, to get to this point where we are and, you know, still maintain a 21% fund balance is pretty extraordinary.
Are there any further questions or should we go to D?
Madam Mayor, we should receive and file this as well.
Okay, motion to receive and file the quarterly report for the period ending 9/30/20.
Second.
Edgar and Burns. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to D.
Okay, so item 14D, these were the budget amendments that I was alluding to in item C. And these are the proposed amendments based on the first quarter of 9/30 activity. And for the most part, all of the budget requests are pretty much rollovers from the past fiscal year to get the various projects done. As you'll see that the rollover projects from 1920 are being requested to finish the projects here in fiscal year 2021. And so what we've done, or what I've done, is I've increased the state shared revenue to match the state's most recent revenue estimates. I've increased the federal grants revenue received from the state of Michigan, which was in place of the August statutory revenue sharing payment that we received, adjusted various contracts and salaries for any adjustments to date, along with any payouts of retirements and related payroll costs. And those are all under the general fund amounts and the various departments that are requesting the rollovers. We're also, you can see that the amendments allows for the 1920 projects to be completed, and it keeps the general fund balance on the annual basis based on what it was adopted when we adopted it this past May, which means that we're not using any general fund balance so far to date to cover the rollover expenditures that we are rolling over from the previous fiscal year. Also, the authorities and special revenue funds, the Economic Development Corporation Fund, This amendment is for the use of the remaining fund balance to support the COVID-19 Business Assistance Package. The Corridor Improvement Authority, this allows a rollover from the 1920 for the capital-related items that were not finished or and all spent. And so this overall net amendment will allow completion of those projects that were budgeted. And so last year we had budgeted about 62,000 for out of the corridor improvement. And I believe we budgeted this year about 50,000 in capital related projects to be done. So the out of the 62,500 that wasn't completed, we'll roll over those monies to use to finish those projects. And then along with the 50,000 that has been already budgeted and approved from our when we adopted the budget in May of 2020. Also, the major streets and local streets, this includes rollover budgets from 1920 as well that were not spent on capital related items as well. For public improvement fund, this includes rollovers as well. And also for the city owned property, this includes rollover. So for the majority, even with the water and sewer fund, these were rollovers that were capital items that were expected to be expensed last year. We did not fully use the money, and so we're rolling them over to this year to finish the projects. And so this these proposed amendments, again, do not impact the general fund, but they impact some of the other funds, but the other funds do have the fund balance to cover the cost for these expenditures. And it still allows us, the general fund, to remain at 21% of the expenditures. That's it. Any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
So we need a resolution approving the budget amendment 2021 to 22 for the period ending 9/30/20. Their motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Burns. Second, Radner. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item E.
Yes, item 14E is for the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission. And so this year, what we're asking is that we work closely with the district court and the local MIDC representatives to complete a compliance plan and cost analysis for the fiscal year 2021, resulting in a fully executed formal grant agreement on October 26, 2020. And our plan this year includes renewals of the contracts for the 2 Michigan assigned council coordinators that would be, the coordinators are responsible for maintaining a roster of defense attorneys, evaluating performance, approving payments, and authorizing investigative resources, working with the city's finance department to submit quarterly reports and performing other duties to ensure that the city is in compliance with the MIDC standards. And so what we're asking that this combined $85,000 of professional service contracts are fully funded by the state MIDC grant. And so what we're asking is for council to approve the coordinated professional services contract subject to further attorney review and approval. And that would be for the attorney John Angot and Carolyn Miller.
Motion to that effect.
So moved.
Thank you. Weiss, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Burns. Motion, is there a discussion about this?
Madam Mayor?
Please, Councilmember Weiss.
I just had a quick question. I know this is funded by the MIDC grant. Is that grant automatically approved, or does that still have to go through approval process in the state?
I believe it's approved because every year when we're doing the budget, the district court, the chief court judge, I'm sorry, had a blank, comes before you guys and talks about the plan as part of the budget process. And I believe Judge Apple came, and I want to say Nancy was with her, or either Heather, that came and talked about the MIDC grant, the Veterans Treatment Grant, and there's one other that they have. Let's see, the Veterans Treatment, MIDC.
Indigent Defense.
Well, this is the indigent defense, but they have the veterans and they
Mental
have,
health.
I'm sorry,
The mental health.
the mental health. Okay, yes, exactly. And they give a report on that, so.
Yeah, and I remember that from the past. I just couldn't remember if this was automatic, they automatically get funding, or if this is like an application process and they have to wait and hear back.
Yeah, I think they apply every year for it. And it's just that because of the need, the amount is actually, I guess it did overwhelmingly well, and the state had money to fund it. And so it's a little bit higher than what it was last year. Again, I'm not really sure if that's a good thing or what have you, but it's great that if they're able to meet the needs for people for counseling.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? Then we are ready to vote to approve this professional services contract, subject to city attorney review and approval. And city clerk, can this be a voice vote, or do you need a roll call?
Well, why don't we do a roll call on this one? Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Burrs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome. Thank you.
14F, we have our esteemed colleague from the Public Safety Department here, Steve Cooper.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and City Manager Tungate. Before you, I have agenda item reference our countywide radio project. The Department of Public Safety had budgeted $120,000 for the countywide radio project and our capital outlay for the fiscal year of 2021-22. The current county prep and mobile radio system has reached its sunset date and will have to be replaced. A portion of that cost will be absorbed by Oakland County through the use of 911 fees. The remaining balance will have to be covered by the individual agencies. In February of 2020, we were advised by Oakland County of what equipment we would be receiving. And based off the loose pricing provided by the county, we estimated that a budget of $120,000 would cover the cost of the project. We were also advised to have the funds available for the fiscal year 2021-22. In August of 2020, Oakland County had locked in pricing for the equipment, which came in a little higher than originally estimated. And some items require accessories that are not covered by the county. The new pricing came in at $124,000. With that being said, the vendor providing the equipment is offering agencies an additional discount if the purchase order is placed by December 1st, 2020. If we want to take advantage of early purchase discount, our price will be $113,695.50, which amounts to a $10,304.50 savings. Public safety would then be required to make payment 30 days after shipment. This would make the payment date January of 2021. In essence, we would be making the purchase 5 months early to realize the additional savings of $10,304.50. If council approves the early purchase, I would respectfully request that the $120,000 originally budgeted for the project remain to cover the cost of unknown expenses to adapt our telephone recording system to the new system and costs associated with wiring accessories for our patrol vehicles. The expenses will not be known until the equipment and technicians are on site to evaluate both. And after subtracting the $113,695.50 from the $120,000 originally budgeted, this will leave a net of $6,304.50 to cover the cost of the unknown expenses previously mentioned. I'm recommending that City Council approve the early purchase of the countywide radio project in the amount of $113,695.50 and authorize the use of the $6,304.50 balance from the original estimate of $120,000 to be used to cover the unknown expenses to adapt the system to our current infrastructure and patrol vehicles.
Madam Mayor, can I make one more, just add to that just real quick? So council members, in other words, we're trying to save our taxpayers $10,000. So Sandra just went through all that effort to do the budget amendments, and then if you approve this will show up in the next round of budget amendments. But we thought, and actually all kudos goes to Director Cooper bringing this to my attention, but we thought, what an opportunity to save $10,000 for the same stuff just 5 months earlier.
So we need a motion to approve this early purchase.
So moved.
Burns, thank you. And second? Weiss. Is there further discussion? Are you ready? Yes.
Just a couple of clarification questions. So I know we budgeted for this in the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Were we just not aware of the pricing opportunities? Is that why we pushed it out a year and now we're moving it forward?
Yeah, the vendor, the pricing, as far as the discount, we were not aware of that. We were approached by the vendor just recently, as well as the other participating agencies throughout the county, that if the purchase was made by December 1st, there would be additional savings. So each individual agency had to contact the vendor to find out exactly what those savings would be. So yeah, we weren't aware of that at the initial time we budgeted this in our capital outlay. The current radio system that we're using is probably already about 4 to 5 years obsolete, and it should have been replaced, several years ago. But obviously some technical issues, and it was a pretty big county project. Unfortunately, we had to hold on to those other radios until the current time here.
Okay, and then just another quick clarifying question. The remaining $6,304.50, that would be the remaining balance of that budget item for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. We're recommending that we keep that if there are any unforeseen issues that need to be paid for. But then my understanding then is that during the 2021-2022 fiscal year, that item will just be removed from that budget because we will have already paid for it. Is that correct?
Correct. We'd be pulling that purchase forward.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
and Councilmember Edgar.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Thanks for finding us the sale.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cooper. 14G, we have our Human Resources Director, Megan Burke, is here. Hi, Megan.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So item 14G is just a request to approve a loan program adoption agreement for Nationwide. Here in the city, we have 3 voluntary 457 programs in addition to our sponsored 457 program. That is ICMA, Prudential, and Nationwide. For the first 2, for ICMA and Prudential, we do allow employees to take loans out against those 457s. So this would just allow Nationwide participants to do the same. They also have a program that they've recently said, since we put this on the agenda, sorry, I have the agenda pulled up. They also have a new program since we've put this on there that would allow for employees who have been diagnosed with coronavirus or who've had a spouse or child diagnosed with coronavirus to take out a special loan as well. I have not heard of that from Prudential or ICMA, but I'd be more than willing to reach out about it. I think that's a great program as well, in addition to this, to let employees be able to take out that money if they are in need.
Madam Mayor, can I piggyback on that just real quick? That is through the CARES Act, by the way, that employees can access those funds. Council members, this is a 457 program, which is not the city's primary retirement for defined contribution plan employees like myself. And this is just, I don't know what right we have to tell employees what they can do with their own money. It's rather shocking, to be honest with you. So this would just be carrying out the consistency we've already established, as Megan said, with our ICMA, RC, and prudential programs.
So we would like a motion to approve the nationwide loan program adoption agreement.
Yes, thank you.
So moved.
Oh, second,
Oh, that was Julie Edgar, and second was
Burns.
Burns. Thank you. City Clerk, do we need a roll call or is this a voice vote?
Voice vote will be fine.
Voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Madam Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you for listening to us and thank you for your support as always.
It is now called to the audience. We have a 3-minute time limit. Elections Director Vecchio, anyone on the chat or whatever wanting to speak?
If there's any members of the public present who wish to speak, please mention it in the chat or raise your hand. I actually do not see anyone online except for our city staff. So
There's no one looking to speak at this meeting.
nope, not at the moment.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we go to call to council, and the new trash carts have been warmly received by residents. A few people have noticed that some of the tops have been warped because of delivery issues, but the vendor assures us that in a couple of weeks it will go back to its original form. You might want to put a little small amount of weight on it in the meantime for 2 weeks to get it to close properly. We've been asked only to put bagged garbage in these garbage cans. That is to keep the rats away, because rats find food by smell. So you certainly wouldn't want to put garbage in your garbage can without first bagging it tightly, maybe even adding mothballs to the garbage can. We're trying to keep the odor down to nothing. Also, if you'd like, you can buy a permanent white marker at the hardware store and put your address on the garbage can if you would like. Or if you prefer, there you can get an engraving kit to put the address on your garbage can. People are thrilled with the garbage cans, and even talking about decorating them for the holidays. Let's see. Okay. As you heard, city offices, the library and recreation will be closed except for online usages. The library will close its doors for people coming in for a half an hour and resume the drive-up service only. This is until January 1st.
4th.
4th. Thank you. 4th. People have asked what to do with political signs that they'd like to dispose of. And because the signs are coated, that they don't get ruined in the rain, they can't use them, they can't reuse the paper. So the signs can go, up to a dozen signs can go out with the trash. City Manager Eric Tungate, Economic Director Kim Maroney, I were at the Forgotten Harvest groundbreaking. Forgotten Harvest has a large building presently on Greenfield that they have outgrown, and they have started building a wonderful new facility on 8 Mile Road. If you're not familiar with Forgotten Harvest, they've won awards for being the best run nonprofit in the country, not only in the state. This is making nice use of 10 acres on facing 8 Mile Road. Might have heard that Southfield has found a developer for Northland Center, and we're waiting to see what happens with that. Mayor Pro Tem Burns, you have a word about the library.
I'm sorry, what?
You might have a word to share about anything new in the library. I know
nothing has occurred since our last meeting, and we will be meeting tomorrow, so I'll have an update at the next meeting.
Very good, thank you. Councilmember Edgar, anything to add maybe about recreation?
Well, we have a meeting. We have a meeting on Wednesday. Nothing new. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag right now about our holiday plans, but that's to come soon. We'll make an announcement. Yes, nothing new on the recreation front.
Anything else to report that or call to the council?
Well, I just want to say that I drove by both the fence along 9 Mile, which looks really good, and Coolidge Place today, which it looks like it's almost finished. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. How many units?
Is it 40? Director Maroney still on? Is it 40 or 60? I can't.
It's 64 units.
64.
Looks great. It's really good. Anyway, but good to see everybody.
Yep. We saw a house redone in Huntington Woods that used the same kind of frontage and things that they are using there. So it is beautiful. Councilmember Radner, anything to add for council comment?
Good night.
All right. Councilmember Weiss, while we still have you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. City Manager, I actually had a quick question for you. I meant to ask it during the COVID update and I thought of it later. But because we are going back into a semi-shutdown situation again, are we going to need to reactivate the COVID response team, the COVID reopening team? Again, do you anticipate?
I don't. Perhaps as we get through, into December, we may get that group back together, but I don't see us needing to at this point. I think the big thing is that this is now our second time around, and I feel like that group did just a ton of stuff. And thank you for your participation, by the way. But that group did a ton of stuff towards getting us to where we are, and so it's kind of an old drill at this point. Sadly, but
Our new normal. All right, thank you. Yeah, to that point, to COVID, and I mentioned this before the meeting, but I just want to bring it up again. I know I mentioned it at the last council meeting as well, but clearly, we're going into a new, not stay-at-home order, but limited interaction order starting Wednesday, and our COVID numbers are worse than they've ever been. And our public health officials are saying that if we don't get this together, we could potentially be looking at 1,000 lives a week lost in the state of Michigan alone, which is horrifying to even think about. But this is the reality that we live in, and this is what we could be looking at if we're not taking it seriously. And I know our citizens, everyone here in Oak Park, has been doing their part. But I just want to remind people, because it's been going on for a long time, and I know people are getting tired. This is not the time to be tired. It's worse than it's ever been. As I mentioned last weekend, I was out and I saw people at the grocery store in Oak Park, saw people at a store in Oak Park not properly wearing their masks, had it down around their chin, below their nose. If it's not covering your nose and your mouth, you're not wearing it. It's not protecting you or anyone else. So That is the simplest thing you can do to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect your community. So please, again, just make sure that you are limiting your interactions with others. Make sure that if you do go out, you are wearing your mask properly. And just do everything you can to stay safe and to keep each other safe. We're going to be going into the holidays coming up soon. And unfortunately, we're going to have to make sacrifices. I know I love going to see my family every year. This is the first time in my life I won't be doing that for Thanksgiving. And that's to protect them, and that's to protect my household and everyone else. So just consider that when you're making your plans. Make sure you're keeping each other safe. We have hope on the horizon. We have a vaccine coming soon, but we have to hunker down now so that we can all get there together. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Amen to that. We're getting tired of the virus, but the virus is not tired of us. So keep your guard up. Have a small holiday just with the folks you live with so that we can all be together next year. And with that thought, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Bye.
Yep.